Welcome to another episode of LinkedUp. I'm your boy A.E. Charles.
I'm Fitz.
And I'm Nova.
Devin, nice to meet you guys.
Hey, what's happening?
What up?
Appreciate you, Devin, for being on the show, man. How's
No worries.
everything going out there in sunny California?
Oh man, we're doing all right out here. Hopefully they start loosening up these lockdown restrictions so we can make some moves because this cabin fever is no joke.
I know.
I feel you, bro. I heard you guys are on lockdown till July?
Yeah, they pushed it to July. We were supposed to be it was supposed to be mid-May, and then they pushed it to July. So
yeah, man.
I mean, have the numbers gone up out there? Is that why?
I don't know. I think they're going based off of the people who off of the cities that were shut down. And then they opened it back up and they saw the spike, and so they were like, "Nah, we're gonna kick it back out because we don't want it to spike." So
Yeah.
But I would think that in California, since you guys have good weather, people would still be out in the streets a lot, right?
people still out.
They are. Yep.
Still out
Not going in. Right.
Bro, one
This
thing
is
I've
it.
realized about this whole thing is us as Americans, we cannot sit still. We have to like,
No.
Bruh.
we cannot sit our ass down.
I tried to call myself a homebody, and then I'm still like itching to get out and
Bro,
about.
facts.
Yes. I like I said,
Because we don't got choices.
yeah,
Right.
like I said earlier, I'm a flight attendant, and so I'm always away on the go 3 to 4 times a day. So when I get home, I don't talk to anybody.
Right.
And I was like, I'm an introvert. And then this happened, and I was like, yeah, no, I need to like talk to people. I need to be out and about. And in Atlanta, people like they so funny. They like talk about Atlanta and people like still in like the streets and everything. Like people are
Yeah, man.
they're just like, fuck it, it's spring. Like people are still wearing their masks. Some people aren't, but Darwinism will officially reign. So there's that. But
I'm gonna finish.
I know. Like Brian Kemp was like, I think we're a little too overpopulated. Let's lift the restriction early and see what happens.
Same thing out
Yeah.
here in LA too, man.
Yep.
LA, like you can tell when things are starting to open up because traffic starts to build up. When this thing first started, freeways were
Nobody.
wide open.
Yeah.
Wide open.
And I know that
usually
lessen
on a
y'all's
busy day
pollution
when
too.
everything's open. Right, exactly. Like I mean, you can look and see like clear skies like crazy.
It's looking like 3D out there, yo.
I know.
Right.
Hold on, let me see.
Catch this, right.
Dang.
Man, catch this joint
Yeah,
at the
like, I can
beginning of the
see-
year.
I can see like the edging of the clouds. Like
Yeah.
Right. At the beginning of the year, this all would have been smogged out.
Yep. Thanks. So Devin, we wanted to dig a little bit more into your musical background, man. I mean, this man wears many hats, like many hats.
Yeah.
So just give us a little bit of your background, a little bit in music for a bit.
Man, I grew up in church, so I was always surrounded with music. My family sings, plays different instruments. My sister dances, so I was always around creative people. And so I initially started my itch for music around like 9. I was playing the drums for like my church choir, stuff like that.
oh yeah, that's cool.
But I always wanted to write music, and so I realized I can't write music to a drum pattern. You know what I'm saying? And so I was like, oh, okay. And my aunt, she's a jazz pianist, so I was like, let me sit with her and just kind of watch and just learn. And so I picked up to play the piano by the ear. And so that's when kind of melodies started to come, and I started creating melodies and songs and stuff like that vocally. And then around like 12, 13 or so, I learned how to record. And so that's when the journey all started. I was just like, okay, I can make my own songs now. I'm good.
Yeah.
So yeah, started that. And then, fast forward, I studied music at Oakwood University. That's where I met actually Nova. That's where I met him.
Hey.
And so, we linked off of that and did that. And then I moved to LA in 2014. Yeah, 2014. And the grind hasn't stopped since. So
Okay.
it's been moving and, just building the brand, BlackIrish Entertainment, and just producing for artists. That's always kind of been my niche, just producing, songwriting, and being in the studio in that creative space. So long story short,
Sure.
So like, what would you say is your software of choice when it comes to making beats? Like, you like FL, you like Logic, Ableton, like what do you prefer?
I've actually started everything in Logic. So Logic was my money. I always had Pro Tools on the side for vocals, and so that was always a thing. But I just transitioned into Ableton maybe 2 years ago, and I haven't gone back.
Okay.
Ableton, for some reason, the workflow is so smooth. Like, I'm able to create without hesitation. And then, I just kind of worked it out, and it just ties right into Pro Tools too. So it's just like, if it don't work, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So
yeah,
because like I've seen one of my boys that we actually had on the show before, Chris Hovers. I've seen him work at Logic and Ableton, and it just looks like Ableton you could be a little more creative. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and everybody has their groove. So I know a lot of people who tried to mess with Ableton. They're like, nah, I like Logic better. And then vice versa. I know people who rock with Ableton and tried Logic, was like, nah, I like Ableton better. So, you work with what best fits your groove. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So
but
oh no, I'm sorry, continue. I do have a question for you though.
No, I was just saying, for me, I feel like Ableton, once I transitioned to Ableton, my workflow was just so much smoother than using Logic. So
Okay, so like for those, so I'm not too well versed in like audio editing programs. I'm actually getting my feet wet right now. I'm doing my own podcast, and I'm doing a lot of the editing. And so I've been using like Audacity. But so like, what do you mean by like, so like I kind of understand what you mean, like as far as like workflows concerned, where like controls are, and like just how you like kind of envision what you want it to sound like, and then that is like either easy for you, like you view that as like user friendly, or something that like kind of manipulated. Like how can you get like what's like that creative thing that you can do in Ableton?
So with Ableton, well, I start with Logic. When I had Logic, the editing side of it wasn't as user friendly for me, at least. I can only say that from personally, but it wasn't as user friendly. So I would have to do a lot of work in Logic to get it to sound the way I want it, and then move it over to Pro Tools to really get the editing and all that stuff done. And Ableton, the workflow and the sound that it gives you that quality to keep you inspired while you create. You know what I'm saying? For me, it keeps me inspired all the way through the creative process. So when I move it over to Pro Tools, it's not a lot of work to get it, to where I really want it.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So do you like record, edit in like the same program?
So it depends. Usually when it comes to working with artists, for me, my creative process starts with the production, and if the artist is in there writing as I produce, that's how it's built out. And then we move it over to Pro Tools to structure it out. So, intro, verse, pre-hook, hook, however we want to structure it out, and then we throw vocals on. So in Ableton, for me, it keeps the inspiration going as the creative process is moving along. And then when I move it over to Pro Tools, that's when you bring it to life. You bring the structure to it. You bring the verses, the hooks, and then you can add the vocals and all that other stuff. So the inspiration comes from Ableton, and then in Pro Tools is when we actually bring it all to life.
Yeah, so like Pro Tools is kind of like you're refining.
Yeah, exactly. That's where everything gets polished. Yeah.
Exactly. So Stephanie, basically, Audacity is like another version of Pro Tools, basically.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, for editing, yeah.
Now I'm like interested in like other kinds of like audio production. Like now I'm kind of seeing how it fits with like video editing. I sat down and like watched YouTube videos of like ADR, and that was
YouTube University.
Awesome. Yeah, they like. Yes, I love YouTube University. It's the best.
I'm telling you.
The video editing softwares, that's a whole nother beast though.
It's a monster, man. But I mean, a lot of my friends who do like video editing and stuff like that want to also learn the recording side of it, because it all, like Nova said, it all ties in together. Like if you can get really good quality video editing and really good quality audio, like you're winning.
Yeah,
you're winning.
Especially nowadays, because like, you know, quarantine, everybody, it's like the more you know how to do for yourself, the better. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, and I think not just like quarantine wise of like knowing, like doing things for yourself because you can't quite get in touch with somebody, and that remote recording process is very, like, it's very strenuous. I mean, it's doable, but it's not as like as if like you guys were there in the same room. But I mean, if you wanted to say be a multimedia entrepreneur,
raises her hand.
plug. Like you could do some of that stuff yourself, and you don't have to outsource and wait on anybody, because especially when you're just beginning and you don't have a budget and you're like, yeah, I can't pay you. And then if you're not paying them, they're gonna be like, yeah, I'll get it to you. And then like 3 months pass and you're like, wait,
1 year later.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this is the time to do it. This is the time to do it, because I mean, we ain't got nothing but time. And so if I was talking to one of my buddies, and he was telling me, if you don't come out of this quarantine situation with either a new tool, a new kind of inspiration, or just a better version of yourself, you wasted your time.
That's fact, man.
You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, like, you know,
no, it's facts.
You have nothing but time to do something better for yourself and do something that you've always wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
It's like, I feel like now is the perfect time to have that full circle self-realization moment in your life.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But like kind of like halfway agree.
Why?
Talk about it.
We're about to like, Nova and Zell, they like know I like to go off on these psychological tangents. So here's another one. I actually like wrote something about like that whole, like, if you don't come out of this quarantine with like a new skill or a new whatever, or realization of oneself, whatever the case may be. I just think like, I mean, I agree. And obviously I'm utilizing this time to kind of like get a new skill, but I also cannot sit still for like save my life. I keep going until like find another project. I'm like, give me another project. But I think, I mean, you know, just for viewers, like if, you know, you don't come out with that new skill honed in, like it's okay, because I think this is like different than say maybe like choosing to be locked in. And so a lot of people are kind of like losing this routine and kind of unable to adjust. And like, I think it's okay. I think by now people have adjusted, but definitely in the beginning when it kind of like first.
Oh yeah, it was chaos.
It was chaos. Yeah. And so, you know, you're like feeling anxious 1 minute and kind of happy that you have this downtime the next minute. And like a lot of emotions and things are going on. And the media is fucking blowing this shit like all over the place. And so, I mean, like feeling overwhelmed is like normal. So like, you know, I'm trying to create too, but there have definitely been days where I haven't done anything because I've been like really overwhelmed. Like, fuck, like, especially when Ahmad was that video service.
Did you watch the video?
No, I'm not gonna watch.
Oh yeah, I'm about to say, yeah, I couldn't watch that. I'm sorry.
So I can't even watch like gory horror movies, so I don't think I'd be able to watch that. Violence isn't my thing. So like I remember that day, and it was just like on my entire timeline was my life is miserable. I'm stuck in quarantine. My life is miserable. They're still out there shooting Black people for no reason. And so it was like, that was a heavy day for me. And I just kind of couldn't really focus on anything creative because I was like, damn, life fucking sucks. And like, people just have those days and those moments. So
no, I feel it. And my thing is this, like, even you just taking the time to do nothing is great. You know what I'm saying? Because before all this stuff, exactly. Before all this happened, we get so caught up in work, we get so caught up in moving and hustling. When you have those heavy days before, like you had to keep moving because you're like, okay, I gotta get to work, or I gotta get this, I gotta do that, I gotta do that. This is the time where you can take those days and say, like, you know what, I'm not doing anything today. I just need to recover, just rejuvenate, just chill. That's it. And I mean, it's necessary. It's necessary. So even that, in the comment that I made, having the time to just take for yourself.
Balance.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like,
self-care
is a good thing.
Right.
Yeah. And so like realizing that, like, okay, you know what? This is the time where I can say, I'm not doing anything today. Nothing.
Yeah.
I just need me time. That's it.
Yeah. And
nobody can tell me anything different.
Exactly. I'm actually going to send you guys that thing that I wrote because it kind of like hits on a lot of those points.
Yeah, shoot it over.
As well.
Yeah, for sure.
I wanted to jump in and I guess shift gears a little bit, talk a little bit more about like the music side of things, like, and not just producing, but the writing side of things.
Yeah.
I want you to go ahead and take people through the process of, you know, like just music in general. Like, if I'm not mistaken, you studied theory, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Music theory,
So,
song, singing, songwriting, ear training, all that other stuff. So
right.
You studied all
so
that.
just kind of break down the process of like how, you know, you go about approaching a songwriting or even just get inspired with like producing a track. Like just kind of elaborate a little bit more about that.
Well, with that, more so, it's usually when I start a session, I ask one question. I ask the artist how they feeling today. That's it.
Great question.
That's when
you do.
I know, and he can vouch for it. You can, when they come in, like, yo, how you feeling today? What's on your mind? You know, and it either can go from, man, I had a hard day, or man, I'm feeling good. You know, it can go either route. And so when it comes to writing a song, I feel like it's more beneficial when it's something that the artist can connect with. You know, if, you know, sometimes, we'll write for a TV series or we'll write for a commercial or something like that where we don't really have a connection with what's going on. We can do that. But when it comes to an artist project, it has to be something that they can connect with because they're at their best when they're comfortable. So when it comes to writing songs and stuff like that, it starts that way for me almost every single time. And then we'll go through some sounds to see where the inspiration sparks. And if they hear a sound, they're like, oh, I like that. Or if a melody comes from it, then we'll just start building. So melodies, percussion, drums, whatever it may be, and we just build from there. So connecting the artist to the song where it's all built organically is usually my best route as far as starting the song, and then it goes from there.
That's a smart approach too, because I feel like if the artist can't relate to it, how do you expect the people to relate to it? You know,
of course.
They have to have that emotional connection to it, or like at least be a good actor. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Be able to like perform it well. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like in any case, it has to be that relatability. You know what I'm saying? Either I have to go through it, or I've had to experience it, or just like be able to put myself there mentally. So I think that's a very great approach, bro. Like,
man, because a lot of artists come in and say like, man, this is therapy, and that kind of triggered something for me, and it's just like, wow, like this is music therapy. When an artist comes in, records, and is able to kind of release all this stuff, like, you know, into their music at that, like it's therapy. So that's why I asked that question, like, yo, how are you feeling today? And if they're in a good mood, you know, we may come up with something bouncy that, you know, makes them feel good. And that transitions to the listener or translates to the listener. And if it's a lower song, it kind of helps them get those emotions out. And at the end of the song, they're happy. That's the whole point.
Yeah, I think like when you ask somebody like how they're feeling and then to translate it into, and I mean, this goes for like any kind of creative like endeavor, like it's about taking that vulnerability and having that like shine through. So like when you ask someone like, well, how are you feeling today? And then you match that music with their mood, like that vulnerability shines through, like goes, like transcends through the artist. Therefore, and like you can't like you can't like fake vulnerability and like like a true feeling. Like, you know, when
Real.
you're listening to a pop who's just kind of like singing something that somebody else wrote, and then
it's like generic.
Yeah, it's like you can just like feel the difference.
Disconnect.
Yeah.
But like with that authenticity that is like coming through that artist's like voice, or beats or whatever, because like you get like goosebumps and you're like, okay, like I can tell that, you know, some feeling kind of went into this, and they were like genuine feelings.
Right. That's what it's about. And then you just build it out. And I always consider, when it comes to writing music in that aspect, it's like journaling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're able to kind of just get it all out on a page and release it into the music, and then release it out into the world, it like lifts that off your shoulders.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my dog's tripping right now.
So Devin, question for you. So how is it working with Nova? And Nova, how is it working with Devin?
Man, Nova's a beast, man. That's my guy. That's my guy. I mean, when we first started working, believe it or not, like, I knew Nova in school, but I didn't know that he was pursuing music the way that he was pursuing music. You know what I'm saying? So we didn't work on. We did one song maybe in school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it was like because you were a suite mate with J-Mo, so it was like he came in real quickly, did something, and then you left. So it was just like it was very like just how it organically came back together is just crazy to me. Like that's wild.
And so when we connected out here in LA and we got into the lab and started creating, it's seamless, man. Like, his creativity is incredible. He's open-minded, so it's like when you know, different ideas come up, he's willing to absorb them and put them into the music. And you know, he's great. And the boy can sing. That man has some vocals, and he's got swag with it too. So it's not just singing, you know what I'm saying? So he does his thing, man. Yeah,
he got the whole package.
Yeah, he's cool with it, man.
Name for the audience a few of the songs y'all have done together.
Oh yeah, so our latest release is Closure with Maya Mara. That
Great
one
song.
you can stream everywhere. The one we did is All Clear. That's out right now as well. We dropped that one at the top of the year, and I mean we got more in store for you guys, like a lot more.
Yeah. So we got some bangers in the queue, man. We got some songs.
Yes, we do.
Hey man, I'm gonna need a full project, yo. I'm gonna need a full project.
It's coming, man. It's coming. We got some records, man, in the queue, just sitting on ice right now, but they're coming.
Well, I plan on being out in LA probably sometime in September, so we definitely got a link, man.
Hit me, man.
Oh yeah,
I'll shoot you my information. We'll definitely link up, man, for sure.
That's a bet.
So, did you say that like during the quarantine, have you like been working on anything or?
Yeah. So, crazy story. I worked at a bank for 4 years before. Actually, I mean, I was always doing the music thing, and I did it on the side and everything like that. But at the beginning of this year, at the end of January, I quit my 9-to-5 and went full force into this music thing.
Damn.
Mind you, I had no idea that this whole quarantine situation was gonna happen. So I was doing a lot of work up until January into February. I was picking up a lot of sessions, full weeks, like grinding. And then this whole thing slowed down everything. But, which is crazy, I'm still very busy. I'm still working on production. I'm still working on mixing. I still have artists that, you know, we check in with each other, just make sure their health is good. We'll still have sessions and stuff like that. So I'm still very busy, and, you know, stuff is moving still. So, nothing's necessarily slowed down. Still staying pretty consistent in what I'm doing and picking up new adventures, new avenues as far as the music goes. So
okay.
Yeah.
So like, what tools are you using to like get files or talk to your artists? Like, are you kind of like just kind of doing the whole Zoom thing? Are you thinking through like Instagram? Like, what's
so a lot of the artists that aren't wanting to come into the studio due to the coronavirus thing, they're usually doing recording at home, and then they'll either WeTransfer the files to me, or we'll have like a shared Dropbox or shared box, and we'll just transfer files back and forth that way. I have an artist that I'm working with, a gospel artist, he's a praise and worship artist in the Philippines, and I do a lot of just, Google Drive stuff with him. So he'll send me files, I'll get it done and send it back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's so cool because
That's dope. Yeah.
there's a band they were like really big in the early 2000s. I don't know if you've heard of like Death Cab for Cutie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Familiar,
Death Cab for Cutie, they're like indie alternative, acoustics, piano, stuff like that. Check them out, they're awesome.
Sure.
But the lead singer had like a side project, and they called themselves the Postal Service. They were very like electronica, but their entire album was built on like file sharing. And this album came out in 2002, 2003
Wait, hold up. It came out in the early 2000s. They was doing
early 2000s. Go check it out. It's called it's like a self-titled. They only have one. It's the Postal Service, and they did the entire thing with like file sharing, and so it's like
wow.
The guy
it's
that
doable.
Yeah, I know, and like the guy that partnered with the lead singer Ben Gibbard, he did like all of the like music producing. He like made over his vocals, and then they got like other artists to collab with them, and it was really, really cool.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, you think about it, like now a lot of people are doing the collage kind of recordings and stuff like that. That's all it is. People are sending in files, sending in vocals, and then they tie it to the video, and it's a whole bunch of people singing the same thing and all this other stuff, harmonies, all this other stuff, and it just syncs it all together. So it works. It's doable.
Hey man, the power of technology. Crazy.
Exactly. That's what I'm about to say. Technology nowadays, you don't even have to leave your house, yo.
Don't worry.
Is it more difficult working with people like from a distance, especially on like a full project for you?
Not necessarily. I guess if there were a point of difficulty, it'd be the quality. Because you got to figure out like, where they're recording, who they're recording with. If they're recording themselves, are they getting good quality? Are they recording in the right places? So that's usually the downside of it. If it's coming in and it's, recorded on cell phones nowadays are still, you can get good quality out of them. But, if they're recording in a room and you hear babies crying or dogs barking or something like that, like, there's not really a lot that you can do with it. But other than that, it's seamless. As long as I get good quality vocals that come in, the sky's the limit. You could do whatever you can do,
That's so true.
You want with it.
So what would you say is has been your biggest challenge doing your dream full time? Like what gave you like that courage, that bravery? Because there's a lot of people out there that really want to do that, and they're trying to figure out like how they can do it and what's the best way to go about doing that.
Yeah. For me, honestly, I've always wanted to do it, but there was always a sense of fear, of not succeeding or not staying busy enough to pay bills and do all this other stuff, because it's something that I love to do. So it's something that I would do for free.
Yeah.
Right.
But because obviously, we're adulting, we got bills to pay. We got to make it happen. So, but for me, at this point when I made it, I was reading this book from Ari Hurston called How to Survive. I think it's called How to Survive in the New Music Industry. How to be successful. Yeah. How to be successful in the new music industry.
Good to read.
And there was something that he said, I believe it was chapter 5 or 6, and he was talking about his transition and out of the 9-to-5s and where he was just like, I'm not happy here. And he said something. He said, you just have to do it. Because if you wait, you'll always be waiting.
Damn. So you just got to take a leap of faith.
It was just a leap. And then, everybody says it. It's a leap. It's a leap of faith. Like, if you know that you're going to be successful doing it, it would have been an easy transition. Yeah. But you don't know. But you have to take that leap of faith. You have to take that jump. And so at the end of last year, I was talking to my wife about it. And I was like, you know what? And the funny thing is, I told myself, I was like, you know what? At the end of February into March is when I'm going to make my transition, because I was trying to work things out with my job to see if I can get paid out for PTO and all this other stuff. And I told Nova about this too. But I was trying to figure it all out. It slowly but surely started pushing closer to the beginning of the year, because I was trying to push it out like maybe March, maybe April. And it just started coming back to the end of the year, because stuff just started, like doors just started to close. Doors just started to close, and it was just like, okay, it's time, you know? And at the end of December, finally made the decision. I was like, all right, I'm going to say February 17th. That's the day I'm going to do it. That's the day I'm going to do it. And at the beginning of the year, when everything started, something happened at my job, and it just rubbed me the wrong way. Rubbed me the wrong way. That's what it was. I was trying to become a business banker, and that door closed.
Okay.
And then I tried to get into marketing, and that door closed. Because I was gonna try to hang it in, you know, just try to stay with them and see if I can hustle. And all my doors closed. I had no room to move. I was hitting the ceiling at the job, and I was like, you know what, it's time. And then God told me, that was my sign. And God told me, he was like, at the end of January is your time. At the end of January is your time. And I was like, okay. I talked to my wife about it. We put a date. I put my 2 weeks in, and everybody lost it at the job.
See how they lose it when they not treating you right?
Right.
Yeah. It went all the way around, right?
Because my thing is, like, when I do something, I go wholeheartedly into it. You know what I'm saying? So as a banker, that was my thing. Like, what can I do to make this thing better? And so nobody thought, like, oh, Devin's going to quit. Like, I see it happening. Like, nobody knew.
Yeah.
Nobody knew. And I wasn't sitting here telling everybody, like, yo, I'm about to quit this job. Like, I don't want to put that energy onto somebody else. And so I put my 2 weeks in. Everybody's like, oh, my goodness, like, you're quitting. It's crazy.
And see, you know what's crazy? You know how many people you probably inspired to? You know what I'm saying? Because
my thing
is, we get so, like, complacent and so comfortable, you know what I'm saying, just being a part of the matrix instead of challenging the matrix. You know what I'm saying?
Real.
And it takes leaders like yourself, people like our boy Nova, you know what I'm saying, to say, like, nah, bump this, man. I gotta take my destiny into my own hands, because I want to be happy, and I'm the main factor in deciding on whether I'm happy or not. You know what I'm saying?
That's what it's about.
So
that's what it's about.
I salute both of y'all for that. That takes some heart, man. That's not easy.
I just want to say, man, like real talk, I've seen a lot of people work hard, but Devin, like, yo, I don't think y'all understand. Like, this man was going. No, it has to be said. Like, this man went to work. What was it? 6 in the morning. You left 7 in the morning to go to work.
7 in the morning.
Leaving the studio the night before 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Or 4 a.m. or however. Sometimes other sessions later.
You did that
for how long?
Yeah.
He was a champ. A champ.
Those are my days. I respect it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. But yeah, I mean, that's
respect.
That's what it's about. It's a passion. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, you know, going to work and getting yelled at for stuff you didn't even do from customers, and then going to the studio, it's like a whole new day for me when I walk through that studio.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then I'm tired, I'm exhausted, but it's a part of the process, and it got me to this point. You know what I'm saying? It got me to the point where I knew, like, okay, every time I go to the studio, I'm going to be successful. You know, every artist that I speak with is going to love what we do because there's such a passion behind it. You know, it's not just like I'm just doing it just to do it. It's not just a regular 9 to 5 for me.
Yeah.
You know, so
I want to interject so I can explain that look. No, I mean, I'm a little bit more like, I'm very, like, one of my values is like financial security. So, you know, I mean, it kind of like makes sense. I mean, like, I need like health benefits, like I can't see otherwise. And, you know, you're right, like you have to, like, you know, we're adults, so we have to kind of, we have to put food on the table and pay the bills. And I mean, very true. But I just think that's very ballsy. Because it's like, you know, to like go on a limb. Like you just don't, like nobody can tell the future. So you don't know if it's going to work out or not. And I'm pretty sure that it will if you're like still staying consistent, working, especially during a time like this. Like a lot of people aren't, a lot of comedians and anybody else that like works in kind of like entertainment are kind of struggling right now. So the fact that you're still kind of like making those connections definitely says something.
That's all about your energy too.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it like when you put yourself, when you take that kind of leap and that kind of risk and you're passionate about it, like you kind of have a little bit of like a hustle to yourself where you're like, okay, well, it's do or die. And so people thrive off of that do or die mentality. My anti-anxiety meds won't let me quite, but but
yeah, I mean that's what it's about. Honestly, like when it comes down to it, especially when it's something you love, it doesn't feel like work.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So for me, when I knew that I was transitioning out of comfort and stability, you know, I knew that I was going into something that I love to do, and it didn't matter how hard I had to work to get what I needed to get.
Yeah.
I knew I was gonna do it. So it wasn't like before, the fear was there because I think it was insecurity of me. I'm not gonna be, you know, good enough. I'm not gonna, you know, be able to do it. But that's why God told me to take that time. I had to take that time to learn those tools and learn those, you know, trades to help me be successful in everything that I touched. And that's what it is. Everything that I touch now is success, you know. And so down to production, down to songwriting, artist development. So I have artists under me that have never written songs, never written songs, never written songs in their life, you know. And I've been working with them for a year or two, and now they're writing their own songs. They're coming out with projects. They're coming out. So I know that I'm in this to win. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So every day I'm doing something to win in some kind of way, and it doesn't feel like work because I love to do it, you know?
Exactly. And like to kind of like piggyback off of that, like the whole you were given that time to kind of learn. I think that's a very important point, especially
Very
for
much so.
anybody that wants to you know, make a career move, or I mean not even just like in like the arts, but any kind of career move in general requires like practice and the work put into like hone a skill. Because I think like just especially for me, I, you know, I always had this like mentality that, you know, they always talk about somebody's talented. So you could like have a knack for something all you want, but if you don't have the skills that you
work ethic
practice,
to it,
and the work ethic to like bring to the table, then you're like never going to be an expert. And so like I think just kind of accepting the fact that for a while, you know, your, you know, creative endeavor or switch of a career choice, business, whatever it might be, is just probably going to suck for a while. And you're just going to have to like be like, oh, you know what? I love this so much that I'm willing to suck at it. And I think everybody that, you know, I think that sometimes like without knowing that, people tend to like give up a little easy, like, you know, maybe it's just not for me because it's just like a lot of work. I'm getting a lot of setbacks. And if you're like, I think that kind of like the true test of passion when you're not good at it at all, but like you keep trying anyway because you know you want it to work. And I think when you want something to work, it's all about like a choice. And I think we kind of leave like this whole career thing up to like the universe, and it's like not meant to be. And it's like it was probably meant to be, but you just didn't want it to really be, you know?
Yeah, and that's what it's about, like wanting it to work. Like everybody has a talent, everybody has a gift, you know, but if you don't have a passion behind that talent or gift, it's just going to be a talent or a gift. That's it. Oh yeah, you're just good at this.
Right.
You're just good at that. But if you want to be the best at it, or if you want to be successful at it, you got to have that passion to have those days where you suck. Like you said, you know, I had those days. you know, and I still have those days. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's certain things that I'm working to better. So like my mixing, stuff like that, it's gotten way better than what it was last year. And the year before that, because I put time into it. But there was times where my mixes were terrible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's what it's about. Like I knew that, okay, I suck right now, but I want to get better. So I'm going to keep learning, keep networking, keep teaching myself, keep pulling from these people that I know in my network. And it just gets better and better and better with the day. Same thing with production, same thing with songwriting, same thing with, you know, building clientele and networking and stuff like that. It takes time. And when you realize that you're at a point where you love getting better at it, that's when you're going to be successful. Right. Because if you just lean on like, okay, I'm good at it and I'm cool right where I'm at, then that's where you're going to be, right where you are.
Yep.
And like, but, I mean, it's not even like the passion behind it, but it's like the why behind it. So it's like, I'm passionate about like a lot of things, but it doesn't really match with my why. Yeah. And, you know, so if it doesn't match with the why, then I just like, what's the point of putting your energy into it? And I think you should be very like selective of your energy because we only have like so much time here anyway. So
real.
Get the hell off of Instagram. I'm just
it also helps with like when you're like protecting your energy, it also helps you to waste less time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you know, because there's nothing wrong with trying new things, but like it's good to have that like intuition to know like, all right, I know which ones are gonna, you know, take me in the right directions, which ones are just gonna leave me like flat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Exactly. So speaking of
like Devin, piggybacking off of your point about like the talents, man. Like one thing my parents used to always tell me: if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
And basically what I got from that was like you said, everybody has talents, but if you don't like have that work ethic behind it, then it's gonna go to waste. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you don't want to waste your talent. You know what I'm saying? Definitely put that work in to constantly improve and get better at it. Because there's a lot of people out there, they might not be as talented as you, but they put that work ethic behind it and they want to be way better than you.
Oh yeah, of course.
That's true.